If you're feeling stiff and old, it's not just because you're getting older. This study shows that after the age of 30, inactive men end up losing up to 8% of their muscle mass per decade, which leads to lower testosterone levels and sex drive. But with regular resistance training, you can actually increase muscle mass and strength by up to 100% anywhere from 30 to 80 years old, which, according to my YouTube analytics, covers most of you. While these studies show engaging in physical exercise or activity at some point in your life leads to a significantly reduced risk of cognitive decline and cardiovascular disease. I've built my entire career around strength training, and in this video, I'm going to show you the secret to getting stronger and leaner in your 30s, 40s and beyond, and also the best exercises to do it, which really starts with knowing the difference between looking strong and being strong. To look strong, you need to focus lots of time on muscle growth or hypertrophy. And for hypertrophy, volume is king, and that literally just means doing more sets and more repetitions. You need to be hitting each and every muscle group 10 plus times a week, while also using a weight that's heavy enough for you to be hitting failure somewhere between the 6 and 30 plus repetition limit. That's fairly straightforward. Let's say one day you decide to do legs, and then you do arms until you've done your entire body. I'm really not here to shit on hypertrophy. Some form of strength training is always going to be better than no strength training, and you will get lots of compliments when you eventually get your physique looking like it's been carved from marble. And yes, if we're honest, although lots of those compliments are going to be coming from other guys, that isn't necessarily a bad thing depending on what you're into. In my opinion, the big drawback to looking like you're carved from marble after the age of 30 is that it takes a lot of time. And if you have literally any other hobbies like hiking or running, which I talk about a lot on this channel, that is a bit of a problem. It definitely will keep you active, but it is a very cyclical way of training, and it doesn't always translate into real world strength. Plus then you've got the other stuff that goes with it, like the food prep, the supplementation, and all the additional stuff that a lot of the guys that are famous in that space use that nobody really likes to talk about.
He's on steroids.
But when you train to be strong, you end up playing by slightly different rules. For a start, you're using heavier weights and you're mostly failing under the 6 rep limit, which is good because you're not only forcing the muscles to get stronger because the weights obviously start getting a lot heavier, but you're also neurologically recruiting more of your existing muscle tissue, which makes you a lot more efficient, which also then carries over really well into sport, carrying shopping bags, literally anything that we would regard as functional. Plus, you'll only need to really be training half as often as you would if you were training for hypertrophy. You're going to look the same all year round. You're also not going to be walking like you've just gone 10 rounds with Mike Tyson after each and every workout. It's what I do as a 32-year-old strength coach with a life and hobbies for 2 incredibly good reasons. One of those reasons is time. The older I get, the faster my time seems to go, and I want to spend it with my friends and my family, or to be honest, just pursuing hobbies, things like hiking or surfing or boxing. I might not end up looking like this guy, but I won't be walking around all the time like I just shat myself. And by focusing on training to be strong as opposed to looking strong, you can end up picking them up and squatting them. Oy. As a rule, the older you get, the stiffer you feel and the less you move. The less you move, the stiffer you get and the older you feel, which is the second reason why being strong should be the focus as you get older. When you train to look strong, the higher repetitions and sets, combined with the emphasis that goes into going towards failure that you need to be able to grow, causes a lot of damage to your body. And if you've ever been to the gym and not been able to walk the next day, you're going to know exactly what I mean. While training to be strong, you don't actually need to be maxing out every day. So the day after, you feel pretty good. You can do things like play with your kids, you can move a fridge, you can do all that sort of stuff. The emphasis is also on quality movement, which is great for mobility, because when we think about strength, weight is only half of the picture. To be truly strong, you should have strength through a full range of motion. So instead of working partial repetitions like this, you want to be coming all the way up and all the way down so that you're really making the most out of all of your muscle tissue. You shouldn't only be able to move a weight off the floor like I was earlier with deadlifts, but ideally from below the floor, from not only perfect positions, but imperfect positions as well. When you train to look strong, you lose strength through a full range of motion. You ultimately become less functional instead of more functional. Training to be strong mimics the imperfect movement of our day-to-day life. You look good, you feel good, and you can move good. So what does a perfect week look like to get you stronger in your 30s and up? You want 3 strength workouts a week plus some hobbies. Each of those workouts should start with a classic compound movement, something like a push, a pull, or a squat, because they accumulate interest by working multiple muscles in the shortest amount of time. If you pause this screen, you'll get a list of my favorites, and don't forget to press that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying this video or finding it valuable so far. In your perfect week, that could be squats on a Monday, bench press on a Wednesday, and deadlift on a Friday if you train in a gym. Or you could do lunges, dips, and pull-ups if you train from home. What matters is that you build the weight to be heavy enough for you to fail under 6 repetitions. If you're training from home, that could mean a loaded backpack. When you've done 2 to 4 heavy sets, move on to another compound movement, but this time you want to be using slightly higher repetitions that complements what you've just done. Pause this screen for a list of my favorites. On a squat day, you could do a lunge. After bench, you could do a overhead press, and after deadlifts, maybe you could do some pull-ups or rows. If you're feeling a little bit fruity, you could even add in an extra exercise here to make this part of your workout what you call a superset. Lunges, for example, are often very hamstring and glute dominant, so what you could do instead to focus on your quads is something called a reverse Nordic. Coming to kneeling, sitting back on the heels and driving back up. An overhead press, for example, focuses on the front of your shoulders, so you could do instead something like a reverse fly, which would then get into the back, and coupling a pull-up with a dip or a press-up is always going to be a really good time. At this point, you'd probably be around 30 minutes into your workout, so if you're short on time, you could just leave it there, or you could add a cherry onto the cake. That could be some site-specific hypertrophy, which is the look strong training style we covered at the very start of this video. Nothing wrong with doing that. Some high rep bicep curls or tricep extensions if you wanted to develop your arms, for example, or some cardio on the treadmill, or even some ab work. And that's it. That's literally all you need to do. Main lift, secondary lift, which you superset if you're feeling fancy, accessory lift, and you are done. In your 30s, 40s, 50s, and up, the smart way to train is to stay away from doing too much and making every minute of your workout count. The issue is social media will have you believe that you need to look like this guy all the time. But really, it's about enjoying what works for you as an individual. I'm really enjoying my, hey, he works out, but is probably also not going to turn down a pizza era, and you might do too. Strength doesn't need to be confined to having a six-pack, especially as you get older and your lifestyle and your body changes. I've personally found that as I get older, what's arguably more important than my shoulders, my six-pack, or self-loathing is my ability to get people just like you to where they want to be. If you hit subscribe, I'll do what I can to do just that. And if you need a kickstart, you can even download a free 1-week gym or bodyweight focused program to get you started with a Be Strong training approach from the description while you're down there. Otherwise, have a great day, and I'll see you soon.